All right, so let's jump right into this. We're digging into a story you've probably never heard, about a king from ancient Israel. His reign lasted only 6 months, and it didn't just end, it was brutally cut short. And we're not talking about some secret plot in a dark palace corridor. Nope, we're talking about a murder out in the open for everyone to see. This is a real biblical whodunit.
And that's the real head-scratcher here, isn't it? I mean, a king getting assassinated? Okay, that happens in history. But in broad daylight, with a crowd just watching, and nobody does a thing to stop it? That's bizarre. So what was really going on? Let's dig in.
So the king at the center of all this is a guy named Zechariah of Israel. And his ending? Man, it was fast, it was brutal, and it was incredibly public. You really have to get into the details of what went down to understand just how crazy this whole situation was.
And you know, the biblical text is shockingly blunt about it. There's no poetry here. This isn't some sneaky poison plot or a hidden conspiracy. No, a man named Shalem literally just walks up to the king, in front of everyone, attacks him, kills him, and then basically says, "I'm the king now." That phrase, "in front of the people," is everything. This wasn't just an assassination, it was a performance.
Which brings us back to that big question. Why did everyone just let it happen? Why would people just stand there and watch their king get murdered? Well, to get that, we need to rewind a bit. You got to know who this Zechariah guy was and what kind of mess he had inherited.
Yeah, it turns out Zechariah was not a popular dude at all. Sure, his dad was a powerful king, Jeroboam II, but the text just flat out calls Zechariah an evil ruler. And he wasn't the first. He was just the latest in a long, long line of kings who were seen as leading the whole country down a terrible path. He was basically a walking, talking, "I told you so" from God about the dangers of having kings in the first place.
And that leads us to a pretty compelling theory. With a reputation like that, maybe, just maybe, the people weren't shocked. Maybe they were relieved. Think about it. If you see a leader you think is corrupt and wicked get taken out, are you going to jump in to save him? Probably not. Their silence wasn't just silence. It could have been their way of saying, "Good riddance."
But it wasn't just that he was unpopular. The other thing that just screams out about King Zechariah is how little time he actually spent on the throne. We're not talking about a slow decline here. His rule was over almost before it began. A total flash in the pan.
Seriously? Just 6 months? That is nothing. It's not even enough time to get your feet under the desk, let alone make any real changes or build anything. He was king for less than a school semester before everything fell apart. It tells you everything you need to know about how chaotic things were back then.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a turn from a simple political drama to something bigger. His terrible reputation, the instability, that's all part of it, for sure. But the biblical narrative says there was something else going on. Zechariah's death wasn't random. It was destiny. It was the last page of a story that started a long, long time ago. So get this. Way back, decades before Zechariah was even a thought, his great-great-granddad, a king named Jehu, did something God approved of. He got rid of a really nasty royal family. And for that, God made him a promise. Your family will rule Israel for 4 generations. And the key word there is 4. Not forever, not 5, 4.
So let's just count them out, right? You've got number 1, Jehu, the guy who got the promise. Number 2, his son, Jehoahaz. 3, his grandson, Jehoash. And number 4, his great-grandson, Jeroboam II. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. The prophecy is fulfilled. And Zechariah? He was Jeroboam's son. He was the end of the line. The clock had just run out on his family's dynasty.
And that is the absolute key to this whole story. From this point of view, the guy with the knife, Shalom, he wasn't just a political rival, he was basically an instrument of prophecy. Zechariah's murder wasn't just a coup, it was the perfectly timed, pre-written end of his family's rule. His reign wasn't just short, it was exactly as long as it was meant to be.
Now, you'd think, okay, bad king is gone. Prophecy is done. Maybe now things will chill out a bit. But nope, not even close. The end of that dynasty didn't lead to peace. It just opened the door for absolute chaos.
And you want to hear the ultimate irony? Shalom, the guy who murdered Zechariah to become king, he didn't even last as long as the guy he killed. He was king for a whopping 1 month before someone else came along and assassinated him. The cycle of violence he started came right back around to bite him like instantly.
I mean, just look at how fast everything went down. In the span of about 7 months, you have 3 different guys calling themselves king, and 2 of them end up dead. This is the definition of a total meltdown. The kingdom was literally eating itself alive.
So when you pull back from all the chaos, what do we actually learn from this forgotten king? Well, for one, power is fragile. Having a crown means nothing if the people hate you. Second, if you're a leader nobody likes, don't be surprised when no one steps up to save you. And maybe the biggest lesson is that sometimes the story you're in started generations before you were even born.
And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. Zechariah's entire legacy is that he ruled for 6 months and got killed. That's it. It really makes you ask, what's more important for a legacy? How long you're in charge, or what you do with that time? Because the wild story of this 6-month king shows us that even a reign that's just a footnote in history can leave behind powerful lessons that last for thousands of years.